RACE RACE provides trainings and technical support to faith-based organizations and houses of worship across New Jersey to be prepared for disasters and emergencies. RACE is here to tell you a little about the disaster preparedness resources that FEMA has that you can incorporate into your work. He's also here to initiate a partnership for those of you that are interested in working with FEMA. RACE, you can take it away from here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring up a few slides that I've prepared for this presentation. Okay, so the title of the presentation that I'll be giving for the next 20 minutes is Faith Sector Emergency and Disaster Preparedness Opportunities. So I wanted to start by introducing FEMA's Faith Sector Preparedness Program. As Zainab said, I'm the faith-based capacity building specialist for FEMA Region 2, which is based in New York City and covers the state of New Jersey, the state of New York, Puerto Rico, and the US Virgin Islands. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I do with faith-based organizations to foster their preparedness for disasters and emergencies. Then I'll shift into talking a little bit about how the NJO FBI grantees, either prospective or awarded grantees, can consider incorporating some of our faith sector preparedness programs into their work. I'll speak a little bit about a grant opportunity that FEMA offers to 501c3 houses of worship, which is called the Nonprofit Security Grant Program. And I'll conclude by providing some additional preparedness resources, as well as my contact information for those of you that are interested in the different types of programs that I'll be talking about today. Okay, so to give everyone a bit of an introduction to FEMA Region 2's faith-based preparedness program, I just have one slide here that kind of lays out the types of support and workshops and trainings that we provide to different houses of worship and faith-based organizations across the area that we serve. So on the left side of your screen in these blue boxes, I like to bucket part of my work in terms of thinking about how I can support faith-based organizations themselves as an entity with preparing for emergencies and disasters. One of the things that we offer are a variety of trainings and workshops. So we frequently will come out to a house of worship, to a faith-based organization, and conduct a workshop that will walk through how to write an emergency operations plan. This is something that can be applicable to a number of types of disasters and hazards, like active shooter, like flooding, like hurricane, like winter storms, like power outages, anything that could disrupt the services that you provide on a day-to-day basis. And we teach the representatives from different houses of worship and faith-based organizations how to write those plans. We offer a number of other types of similar trainings and workshops that we can come out and teach, all of which are entirely free. Last year, I think within the region, we conducted about 30 different trainings and workshops, and all we need is a place to teach it. It's entirely free. We do ask for help with just coordinating that venue, whether it's in your building, a community center, so on and so forth, and then helping us kind of promote the word and get people to show up. So they're great trainings. We get a lot of great feedback, and we would love to partner with you to provide that type of workshop and that training if you're interested. Another type of thing that we do for organizations is we help them conduct exercises. These can be tabletop scenario-based exercises where we basically present a situation and talk about what your organization would be doing before the event to prepare, what they would be doing during the event, and what they would be doing after the event. Oftentimes, these types of tabletop scenario-based exercises really will illuminate some gaps that there may be in plans that organizations have should an emergency or a disaster occur. And that can then, in turn, highlight things that we could do to help close those gaps and make improvements in our planning if such an emergency or a disaster were to occur. We also provide a number of different types of technical assistance to faith-based organizations. So if you are going to write that emergency operation plan, we can review that plan for you, and we can provide you guidance and tips about how to make a plan that is robust and works well for you. I'll be talking about the nonprofit security grant program a little bit more, but we also provide technical assistance to faith-based organizations that are interested in pursuing that grant program. On the right-hand side of the screen is kind of the second bucket that I like to think about when I explain the work that I do for houses of worship and faith-based organizations. And this is more focused on supporting the congregations and the members of your faith-based organizations with preparing for emergencies and disasters. So similar to what we do for the organizations themselves, we can also come out and do a training and workshop for the members of your organization. We can talk about a number of different types of hazard preparedness, individual and family preparedness, where we can talk about how to prepare for flooding, how to prepare for extreme heat, how to prepare for hurricanes, winter storms, all of the different types of hazards that FEMA is focused on helping prepare our nation for. We also have some other programs that I'll talk about in more depth called the Community Preparedness Ambassador Program, the You Are the Help Until Help Arrives program, which is similar to a first aid class where we come out and we teach people how to save a life during a emergency before that professional help arrives. That's another type of training and workshop that we can come out and do entirely free for the members of your organization if you're interested in helping us coordinate that. I'll also be talking a little bit about some youth resources that we provide as well, called Student Tools for Emergency Planning, and our youth preparedness councils and clubs as well. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys a few pictures of some things that we did over the past 6 or 7 months across those 4 jurisdictions that I mentioned that I'm involved with. Sometimes I find that providing pictures helps tell a story and provide some maybe inspiration for how I can possibly partner with your organization. So just as an example, one of the things that I was very lucky to be a part of was teaching that Until Help Arrives training at a masjid in the Bronx, New York, following the January 2022 apartment fires that occurred in that neighborhood. So we came out and we worked with the local imam to teach that class for the members of their congregation. And there were about 70 people that attended. We were in their holy space, and we taught them that first aid class and how they can save a life before professional help arrives. It's a great example of how we partner with faith-based organizations. Another example there in the middle, I partnered with a church in Freeport, New York, to record a video that they then posted to their Facebook page and to their website about how to make a disaster supply kit. It was a great project, and I know that a lot of houses of worship have invested in that infrastructure to reach their members that may not be able to come to a service in person, but we were able to leverage that video infrastructure to be able to do a preparedness video for their congregation. Another great example. And then also we do a number of different youth preparedness programming. So up there on the top right, we have been partnering with a Hindu temple in Parsippany, New Jersey, that has a lot of different youth that are involved in that house of worship. And we have a club where those youth do different types of activities related to preparing their communities for emergencies and disasters. So all of these are things that the FEMA faith-based preparedness program does across the region, and we would be more than happy to connect with you to support these initiatives in your organization as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what programs can NJO FBI grantees, either prospective or awarded, incorporate into their scope of work. So I know a lot of you guys may be recipients of an NJO FBI grant or may be interested in applying for one. So I wanted to first dive a little bit deeper into the Youth Preparedness Council or Club program that I mentioned. So what a Youth Preparedness Council or Club is a group of young leaders, they're typically about that high school age, that are interested in strengthening the disaster preparedness within their communities. We have a lot of different guidance documents as well as technical support that we can provide to faith-based organizations or houses of worship that are interested in starting their own club. So if you have a a youth ministry or a group of youth within your membership that you're looking for things to do with them, how to engage with them, this is a great opportunity for how you can take a ready-made curriculum and get youth involved in something that they find very meaningful. We have elements related to climate adaptation that, in my experience, youth identify with very strongly. If you have somebody within your organization that is interested in starting up a youth preparedness club, I would love to talk with them. So this is something that we can provide close assistance for with you. We can come out, we can do trainings, we can do virtual things with them. But essentially, these youth are doing fun preparedness activities in their communities. In some cases, we've had youth make TikTok videos about how to be prepared for different types of hazards. We've had TikTok videos about testing fire alarms in their homes, just fun things like that. It's a great opportunity to engage youth that will eventually be the leaders of their communities one day, and hopefully be prepared for disasters while also contributing to their preparedness for their communities. We'll be sending out these slides after this meeting, and I've included some links that you can access to learn more information. You can download this Ready Youth Toolkit in a box, which has this guidance for starting a club. And we also have some recorded webinars that can teach you a little bit more about what a youth preparedness club is. So in addition to our youth preparedness club, we also have a curriculum that was produced out of our Washington, D.C. headquarters and is really proliferated into schools across the country. And that's called the Student Tools for Emergency Planning, and it's our STEP program. This program has different types of lessons, and these are geared to a bit younger than that high school audience. I would say about the 4th grade through 8th grade. And what this program does is it allows teachers, whether they be after school programs that allow them to kind of take up a curriculum and teach these kids about being prepared for disasters. There's a lot of games, there's a lot of videos. So I've included some screenshots of videos that we've produced for this series, but it's plug and play curriculum. So if you are a NJO FBI grantee that is working with youth, and you're interested in possibly incorporating some fun lessons about preparing for emergencies and disasters, this is a great program. We're not simply just handing this off to you. We want to work with you to incorporate this into your program. So if this is of interest for you, I'll also be sharing my contact information about how you can incorporate this into the work that you do at the end. The third program that I want to talk about is our Community Preparedness Ambassador Program. And this is targeted for adults. What the Community Preparedness Ambassador Program is it essentially empowers adults to spread the message of emergency and disaster preparedness in their communities. The way the program is structured is that FEMA, and if for houses of worship and faith-based organizations, it would be myself, I work with an organization that in turn will recruit and train community preparedness ambassadors to do a number of different types of preparedness programs in their communities, whether they be a tabling event, where they have, perhaps have a table at a community event, and they pass out information about being prepared for flooding, being prepared for hurricanes, so on and so forth. We also have presentations that they can take and deliver as appropriate, perhaps in their place of work, perhaps in their house of worship, or even different types of questionnaires and things that they can use to facilitate a conversation with their neighbors or with their family about being prepared for a disaster. So if you work with adults and you're interested in training them up to spread that message of disaster and emergency preparedness, the Community Preparedness Ambassador Program may be of interest for you. And again, I'll share my contact information at the end, where you can learn more information about how to contact me. I'm very passionate about this particular program. So if any of you are interested in this, I'd be more than happy to work very closely with you to implement this within your organization. The fourth and final program that I'll talk about is the You Are the Help Until Help Arrives training and workshop. This is my favorite training and workshop to teach. It's similar to a first aid class, but it's really focused on teaching skills that people can use to save a life, particularly during a severe bleeding event, prior to that emergency medical response professionals arriving on site. So we go through 5 basic steps over a 3-hour workshop about the right way to call 911, the wrong way to call 911, how to protect the injured from harm, how to stop bleeding. So we bring tourniquets. We teach people how to use a tourniquet. We talk about positioning the injured in the recovery position, which many people may be unfamiliar with, and also how to provide comfort while you're waiting for that ambulance and those first responders to arrive. So as an NJO FBI grantee, if you're interested, we designed this program so that after you've taken this course one time, you can take the curriculum and after some training, you can pick it up and teach it yourself. So this is an opportunity for your organization either to one, invite us to come out and train you and your staff and the members of your house of worship in this class. But then after that, you can teach this class to the community, to the people that you serve and your clients. So that's an opportunity for the NJO FBI grantees to incorporate this disaster and emergency curriculum into the work that you do. Okay, so I have a few minutes left. I want to talk very briefly about a grant opportunity that is available for 501c3 organizations in the United States, and that's called the Nonprofit Security Grant Program. So for those of you that may not be familiar with FEMA's Nonprofit Security Grant Program, this is a program that provides funding to implement target hardening measures to reduce vulnerabilities to acts of terrorism. Some examples of eligible actions include things like hiring contracted security guards for personnel, CCTV security cameras. It can pay for fencing. It can pay for bollards to prevent vehicle ramming into the building. It can provide funding for security screening equipment, for blast-proof windows and doors. It can provide warning and notification systems and access control systems. Last year, when the grant was made available, there was $250 million available nationally for the program. So based on the funding opportunity for last year, nonprofit organization sub-applicants with one site could apply for up to $150,000 for that site. If they had a larger campus, they could apply for up to $150,000 per site for up to 3 sites, for a maximum of $450,000 per sub-applicant. So we are eagerly anticipating the notice of funding opportunity for this upcoming fiscal year to be released. But in my experience, the notice of funding opportunity doesn't significantly change from the previous year. So if you're interested in this program, there's a few things you can do to get started. The first thing that I would recommend is sending a quick email to FEMA-nsgp@fema.dhs.gov, requesting that you be added to this email distribution list. Once you're added here, you will get information about different types of webinars, different types of announcements for when that notice of funding opportunity is released, to learn more about that program. You can also visit the program's website. I've included a link here, but you can also get to it by Googling FEMA NSGP, and you can find your way to this website. There's a lot of different types of resources here that you can review. Our headquarters office messages that they recommend interested applicants read the Quick Start Guide that is on that website, and also read the fact sheet that is on that website as well. The previous year's notice of funding opportunity, that NOFO, is also posted there. And once that new notice of funding opportunity for this fiscal year is released, there will also be a document that summarizes the key changes from the last year's notice of funding opportunity. As I said previously, there's not significant changes. The previous notice of funding opportunity should be about 85–90% the same. but there will be a document that summarizes the key differences from the previous year. So you can go ahead and read that old notice of funding opportunity to get an idea about some more details related to that grant. And the final note I'll share about this grant program is that this grant is structured such that states first screen applications before they forward them to FEMA for review. And in New Jersey, that process is conducted by the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. And they have a really awesome resource page, which I've included that web URL for as well down here. You can visit that website to learn more information about the program on that New Jersey State website as well. Okay, so just wrapping this up, I wanted to provide some additional resources as well as my contact information. Just kind of shifting gears a little bit, how can my faith-based organization support our community, our members, and our organizations with preparing for disasters? So I mentioned a few things, and these are some really straightforward practical steps if you're interested in this topic that your organization can do to enhance their resiliency and be better prepared for emergencies and disasters. One of the things that I mentioned early on is you can develop that emergency operations plan. If you don't know how to start, contact me. Maybe we can come out, we can do a workshop for the community, we can invite some neighboring houses of worship, and we can walk through that process for how to write an emergency operations plan. And some other things that I'll just highlight here. So before a disaster, you can learn how FEMA's post-disaster programs work. FEMA has two very large recovery programs. One is called public assistance, which is available for houses of worship if they have damage from say a hurricane. That is a program that provides reimbursement for repairs due to disaster damages from a presidentially declared disaster. We also have our individual assistance program, which provides financial and direct service needs for disaster survivors. In my experience, working on a number of different emergency response operations across the country, faith-based organizations and houses of worship are critical conduits of information for disaster survivors. And if you're able to help connect them, get them involved in that individual assistance process, it can expedite their recovery from a disaster. Some other things that I'll just mention here is you can host a FEMA preparedness training and workshop. They are free. I want to come out and I want to work with you guys. I want our team to come out and work with you in your communities. So reach out to us. We love getting out in the field. We love that boots on the ground engagement. But it's important that we're invited to those communities. And the last thing I'll just mention is that if you're interested in a one-stop shop for different types of emergencies and disaster alerts, we have an app. It's the FEMA app. You can download it on your iPhone or your Android, and it can also provide information about preparing for disasters as well. I will share, as I mentioned earlier, this slide deck will be provided to you guys after this event, but I've also gone ahead and included a number of different links for different resources that FEMA has produced that may be of interest for houses of worship. So there's guidance here about writing a plan. There's guidance about the nonprofit security grant program, those public assistance grants that I mentioned. We also have our national flood insurance program. Many houses of worship may not realize that they are eligible for commercial flood insurance policies through the National Flood Insurance Program. So that is a website and a program that perhaps may be of interest for you. Ready.gov is my favorite FEMA web portal. It's our public-facing preparedness portal where people can learn about how to prepare for a number of different hazards. I've seen different types of houses of worship incorporate hazard preparedness information into their day of worship bulletins that they pass out to the members that attend their services. And there's great information about preparing for disasters and hazards at ready.gov if you're interested in doing something similar. Okay, so just in conclusion, we provided an introduction to FEMA's faith sector preparedness program. We talked a little bit about how NJO FBI grantees, either prospective or awarded, could consider incorporating some of those programs into their work. I talked a little bit about the nonprofit security grant program and how you can find more information about accessing that program. And then I concluded by providing some additional preparedness resources. And my very last slide before I pass it back to Zainab, is how you can contact me. So my my email address is right there, race.hodges, HODGES, @fema.dhs.gov. Please shoot me an email. If you are interested in incorporating some of these programs, I want to work with you. So I look forward to hearing from those of you that saw a place to incorporate some of these into the work that you do. You know, with that, I'll pass it back to Zainab to continue with the remainder of the webinar. Thank you.
You're muted, Zainab.
Thank you, Race. Thank you for sharing such a wealth of information. Race's contact information is in the Q&A in the chat box. And like Ray said, we will provide all of the information after the call. Before we move on to the next panelist, next speaker, I'm going to post a quick poll. Please take a quick minute and answer these questions that are going to show up on your screen, and then I'll give a brief intro for our next presenter.
Great. This is new information that they received, Race. That's what the poll is indicating. So there seems to be some interest. We'll make sure that we'll share the slide, share the link, share the recording with everybody, and they can communicate with you directly. If you didn't hear from me earlier, if you're OFBI grantee and you have a staff development line item, you can utilize that line item to support whatever training that you're interested through FEMA and through RACE. Okay.
All right, great. I'm going to share the results on the screen. Okay, so moving on to Izzy. Etisham Chaudhry, he's also known as Izzy to most of the people that know him throughout the state. He's a detective with the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness with almost 16 years of experience. He serves as a college and university public safety liaison, NYPD Intelligence Bureau liaison, bias crimes officer, and statewide coordinator for Interfaith Outreach and Interfaith Advisory Council. He has also served in the U.S. Air Force as an enlisted member, an intelligence officer, and is fluent in Urdu, Punjabi, and Hindi. Detective Chaudhry is also an instructor for Understanding Islam, Counterterrorism, Level 1, and Understanding Sikhism. Izzy, you want to go ahead.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. I just want to say thank you for having me here present for your webinar today. So, like to say, been with the agency for quite some time. One of my key roles is the outreach coordinator for community and interfaith, including providing those resources out to the faith-based community. Before we begin that, I just wanted to kind of briefly talk about my office real quick, as it's a small office, not many people know about it. So started back in 2006, shortly after 9/11, merging the counterterrorism piece with the preparedness piece, very similar to the Federal Department of Homeland Security. As time moved on and the threats have changed, the threat environment changed, we added a third piece, which is the cybersecurity piece. So the state of New Jersey actually has one of the first cybersecurity cells in the nation. It's known as the New Jersey Cybersecurity Communication Integration Cell, commonly known as the NJKIC, and this is something that's available to the public as well. So if you have any type of information you need on the cybersecurity realm, we have our website for that, but you could actually reach out to them and they'll help you with any of your security issues. That being said, when the office was created under the governor, which was John Corzine at the time, appointing the director, as a cabinet level position. That particular person now is Lori Duran, who has over 34 years in federal public experience, particularly in the intelligence community. She's been appointed since 2019, actually, as the director. Okay, Eddie, can you do the next slide?
Yep.
So thank you. So wanted to first start and talk about what we have been known as the Interfaith Advisory Council. So back in 2012, our office created this thing called the Interfaith Advisory Council, handful of folks, really to start to have that dialogue between the community, houses of worship, and law enforcement. Over the time period around 2018, April 2018, my director asked me to become one of the statewide coordinators. We had about 250 members. Since 2018, I like to say we're close to about 5,000 members in the Interfaith Advisory Council. What we do is it's our way of sharing information from the law enforcement side, but also what's occurring at the houses of worship. We meet on a quarterly basis to discuss some of the current threat environment and other resources that are out there. And then when there is an emergency, we'll actually have our director, the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney out of Newark, the Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent in charge, and occasionally sometimes even the governor will do a brief out of whatever that incident happened, provide the most transparent information related to that, and then what we're doing on the law enforcement side of it. So for example, yesterday there was an incident over in Bloomfield at a Jewish temple. We will be having a conference call on that tomorrow with all those stakeholders. Eddie, next slide, please.
Yep.
Thank you. So going back to what the resources are, the biggest part of what we do is partnerships. And those partnerships are with the federal, state, county, and local. So our office, because we have that space in the counterterrorism world, right? Most of these grants that we're going to talk about in a few moments are related to terrorism. So that being said, understanding what is that current threat environment. On our website, njhsp.gov, you have access to a lot of the intel products that we have out there. So whether it's on the international terrorism side, the domestic terrorism side, active shooter, some of the incidents that have occurred throughout the nation related to house of worship, that's information all available for the public. Additional to that, and we'll be releasing this in a couple of weeks, is our annual threat assessment. Our annual threat assessment outlines what the actual threats are here in the state of New Jersey. Now, and it has been for a while, the biggest threat in terms of terrorism is what's known as a homegrown violent extremist, motivated either by religious or racial. But you'll have all that information when the annual threat assessment comes out. The next thing that I really wanted to talk about, and I think is a very, very important thing, and this is something Grace had mentioned regarding vulnerabilities. So we have a team in the state from the federal, state, county, and local level that conducts site assessments. And what do I mean by that is that we have certified folks that will actually go out to your house of worship, do a full walkthrough with you, outlining what your gaps and vulnerabilities are, and then provide a report. And that report is very important because it's one, helps you see what your gaps and vulnerabilities are. Some of those things are either at no cost or low cost that you can fix yourself. And these are based all on best practices, whether it's from houses of worship or from federal and state guidelines. Addition to that, a lot of that information is used to actually write the grant. So the grant that Race had mentioned earlier, the Nonprofit Security Grant Program, that's the FEMA Federal Emergency Management Agency grant. That particular grant will be coming out soon. So FEMA, it will be announcing the opening for that, and open application timeframe will be somewhere in April, May. Usually there's not a lot of time to put these things together, meaning the grant applications, because it is very competitive. Highly suggest to start working on that now. Certainly one of the first thing that needs to be done is to do that site assessment. Now, if you can't get a physical site assessment for whatever reason, you could do a self-assessment. So either our office using the facility assessment tool, or DHS, which is also posted on our website, you can use that as self-assessment because that is a minimum requirement for the grant. So when you're talking about what are those requirements to filing for that application, and Race had mentioned this a little bit earlier, which is being a 501(c), designating your organization as nonprofit. A new thing that FEMA launched is very important, and it replaces the Sam DUNS number, is the UEI number, which is also available on SAMS.gov. And the final thing is the assessment. What they refer to in investment justification is your actual application for the grant. Now, Race mentioned this earlier, is that our office has listing of all the resources for these grants. So njohsp.gov, and you'll be able to find everything that you need, including a full video outlining how to write that particular grant. So last year, the state of New Jersey received a little bit under $18 million out of the total $250 million national pot designated for the NSGP. Only second to New York by really a fraction amount of money. That being said, even though it is very competitive, there's a lot of resources out there for houses of worship to write that. The second grant that we offer is called the New Jersey Nonprofit Security Grant Program. That is a state grant. Last year we allocated, and meaning the state of New Jersey allocated $5 million to that. It's very similar to the federal grant where there's a target hardening equipment portion, meaning you could purchase fencing, lighting, cameras, panic alarms, et cetera, and so on. And then there's another portion that you could apply for security personnel. Now there's two applications for the state grant. One is for $50,000, that's for target hardening equipment. And the other one is for security personnel for $20,000 over a 2-year period. Two separate applications. You could apply for both. However, you have a preference of getting one or the other. So you can't get both of the state grants. However, you could still apply and receive the federal grant, and then you can also apply for the state grant and potentially also receive that as well. Next slide. Ready?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more.
There you go.
Last thing, thank you. Last thing I wanted to discuss is the suspicious activity reporting program we have in the state of New Jersey. So after 9/11, realized to the 9/11 Commission as the biggest issue, one of the reasons that 9/11 occurred was the lack of communication at the federal level. I like to say that we can go a little bit further, is that there's also a huge difference in the communication barriers really after 9/11 from the local level all the way up to the federal and vice versa. So New Jersey is very unique when it comes to law enforcement. So when you look at a place like New York City, you have 5 boroughs and all oversaw by New York Police Department. Each borough has a commander, and you have a strict chain of command going all the way up to the chief of police and the commissioner. State of New Jersey is not structured like that. In New Jersey, you have 540 municipalities with law enforcement powers, 21 counties, numerous state agencies, including New Jersey State Police, additional to the federal agencies, particularly in this case, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Joint Terrorism Task Force, so the FBI, JTTF. And the reason I mentioned them in particular is that the FBI, JTTF is a lead agency when it comes to terrorism. So what we did was many years ago was create what's known as a counterterrorism coordinator program. So every single municipality has a designated what's known as a municipal counterterrorism coordinator. That individual will take the reports that come in, and these are based on suspicious behavior. So it's not about race, color, creed, it's about suspicious behavior. What is out of place? So when those reports are generated, that goes over to the county, where each county has a counterterrorism coordinator. That report is then sent over to our office, particularly what's called the Counterterrorism Watch, which is manned 24/7. And it's located at our Fusion Center, the State Fusion Center, which is known as the ROC, or the Regional Operation Intelligence Center. Once that information is inputted, it goes into what's known as the New Jersey Suspicious Activity Database. That particular database is linked to the National Suspicious Activity Reporting Database, but in particular, what's important is that it's connected to the FBI JTTF. So as soon as that report is generated and populated information, it goes out to the people that need to know. Once the FBI reviews it, if it's something that's part of an ongoing case or something they want to keep, since they have the right of first refusal, they do that. Most of these reports come back to my agency, about 70% of them. And then we'll work with our state, county, local partners to mitigate every single threat. And that's very important. And the reason why we have this institute is we want to connect those dots before something big happens. So very important to report this information. Eddie, that's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Izzy, for this great information. We've We have another poll, so go ahead, take it away, Zainab. Oh,
I'm just going to give a quick minute for the poll. I asked that everyone answer the question. Thank you, Izzy, for the amazing presentation. Again, we'll send out the deck of cards, the presentation to everybody after the event.
so has your organization applied for the state administered NJOHSP NSGP grant? And the majority of the folks say no.
Oh, yeah.
80%.
All right.
You can end
Okay.
the poll. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the next presenter is Ms. Kia McCoy. She is the manager of nonprofit engagement of Catch a Fire. Kia comes to Catch a Fire with over 15 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, focusing on operations and program management and youth development, having served in numerous roles, including executive director. She's passionate about relationship building and watching mission-driven organizations grow and succeed. She loves helping people think strategically about their processes and find solutions to everyday challenges. Before we move on to Kia, I just wanted to run the poll for Catch a Fire. Just give me a quick minute. Please go ahead and answer these questions so then Kia knows where you guys are at, and then Kia, you can take it from there in a minute.
Kia, are you going to share a presentation? There you go.
Hi, hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
We have a poll going to help you out to get a sense.
All right, let's see.
And before we start, I want to say, I don't know if she's on here, Orly Martinez reached out to us from Catch a Fire and really made the idea of what Catch a Fire does as a valuable asset. And I thought it would be a good idea to share that information with our nonprofit universe. So Orly, if you're on here, big shout outs to you.
Yes, Orly is an amazing team member. We are so glad to have her on our team. So let's see. All right, let's see. Aware of Catch a Fire services. All right. So let me explain to you what Catch a Fire is. Again, my name is Kia McCoy. I use she, her pronouns. And with my 20 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, the one thing that I understand and I know that there is a tug of war that takes place when you are trying to lead an organization, but also lead the day-to-day, but also plan for the future. But let me tell you, this is why Catch a Fire exists. Catch a Fire helps you and your organization deal with the day-to-day tasks while also planning strategically for the future. Okay. So we connect nonprofit organizations to volunteer professionals, and your organization has operational needs, of course, but our volunteers are skill-based volunteers, and our program is designed to be done remotely, of course. So everything is based on our platform, and these volunteers are amazing, and they want to give back, and they want to give back to organizations and great causes just like you. And what we need by long-lasting operational needs is more than just a one-day volunteer experience. Our volunteers are looking to leave an impact on your organization. So what does that mean? We have over 150 scoped out projects for you to explore. And these volunteers help you with various things such as building a website from scratch, setting up your social media, helping you with organizational strategy, supporting you with any technology issues that you may have with your organization. So what I love about Catch a Fire, and I'm going to show you really quickly how what our site looks like, is you're able to connect with volunteers from all over the world. Okay, so I'm going to sign in really quickly. Let's see. Okay. And for you all, I will post your login in the chat in a second. But I kind of want to just show you quickly what I mean by these projects and also show you a little bit about our volunteers here. So this is our fictitious website. It's really simple and easy to go ahead and post a project on here. And you just click this button right here. And you would log in and you could kind of go straight to the menu here. So we have different categories of projects. You can also do a great Google search of projects too. So say, for example, you need finance and operations support for your organization. Here are the type of projects that we mean. This is what we mean by projects. So you can get your accounting system reviewed. You can get an accounting system set up. And those of you who are having issues with your board prospecting, board structure, you can have your business plan reviewed, items like this. And our volunteer professionals come from a wide variety of spaces and places. We have over 80,000 registered volunteers, and we partner with LinkedIn on LinkedIn's volunteer marketplace. So projects that you are posting or projects that you need help with are also posted on there. We also partner with American Express, Patagonia, Hasbro Toys to provide them with their employees with volunteer opportunities. And on average, we have about 11 years of experience. About 65% of our volunteers also have experience in the nonprofit sector. So it's not something that is unfamiliar to them and the work that they do. And volunteers come to us organically. Sometimes we have retirees on the platform that still want to be able to give back, but maybe, don't want to go into an office every single day. Things like that. So what I want to be able to answer any questions for you, but while you're thinking of questions, I'm going to show you a couple of projects, okay? So this is from, let's see, Standish Foundation for Children, and they had an infographic project completed by a volunteer named Sherry. So Bobby Joe is a global program manager. They're located in New Jersey, just like you all are. And the project, we asked people to state why they need the project and also why the project is important to their organization. That's the way the volunteer has an idea of what they're actually getting themselves into. The project is important because it'll make data results for the program, understand for donors in the community. So this is an infographic about information about what they do as an organization, making sure that it's easy to understand by outside people. So infographics are great because it actually shows off your data in a very easy, very pretty way. But then also too, it's kind of like just a simple one-pager for you to be able to showcase all the good that you do in the community. And then here it is here. So they're showing off, and this is all created by a Catch a Fire volunteer, all done for free. Of course, this is all, you communicate with a volunteer, you work with them, you share data and things like that. But as you're thinking of questions, this is the high quality and type of projects in which you could actually get completed. And I could go on for days with all kinds of different examples, but I want to make sure that you can kind of see, all right, well, wow, this is actually pretty great. And this is actually really cool for people to be able to get this high quality type of work from a volunteer. And then let me tell you a little bit more about the volunteer. So Sherry is out of Michigan, so they connected. So she has graphic design experience and also has data interpretation and translation skills, which is really great. And then this is what they had to say about working with one another. Bobby Joe said, it was a true pleasure to work with Sherry on this infographic project. She taught me so much, was patient, was a great communicator. She was open to discussing options based on both of our backgrounds and specialities. She was wonderful recommendations. She was so grateful for Sherry's time and dedication to our project. And this is what Sherry had to say about working with Bobby Joe. It was a pleasure to work with her. She was a great collaborator. Welcome to any of my recommendations. She was always available to answer questions, which helped the project move forward, and it was an honor to work with her organization. So one of the things that we tout at Catch a Fire is about how much time and how much money you would save with certain projects. So this organization, this was their 5th project that they worked on, and so far total they have saved over $138,000 by having the support of Catch a Fire volunteers, which is really great. So let me show you another. Let me see, any questions now? All right. Let me see, let me show you the front end of that project. Actually, I'll show you a different one. I'll show you business plan. So each of our projects look exactly the same. They're fully scoped out for you so that you're able to know exactly what a project is and actually exactly what a project is not. Tell you the time frame and also the skills needed for the volunteer. Okay. So you are a nonprofit organization, but just because you're nonprofit and community-based doesn't mean that this is not a business. No money, no mission. And that's why we're here today. The document, so this is giving you feedback on your business plan that you have created. Talks about why you need this. Updating existing business plan, creating business plan that serves as a guide for you and your organization. So this number here is live. We have over 2,000 volunteers all over the world that are ready, able, and available to help you with their background, entrepreneurship, writing, communication, and they'll talk about how much time you'll spend on this. So this is what I like to call one of those easy projects. If you already have a business plan or you have a draft or an idea, all you're doing is sending it in for feedback. So you'll spend about 3 to 5 hours communicating with a volunteer. And what you'll do is you'll save 15 hours. And if you had it professionally reviewed based on market standard, you'll save a little under $4,000, which is really great. And then here's a project plan right here. This is the same thing that the volunteer sees, the same exact thing as you do, so that you're able to be on the same page on one accord about the milestones, the due dates, and also anything else that you would need support with. We have the option for you to be able to save. So say, for example, I have a lot of organizations that come on here and create a wish list. So you can put this on your wish list as something you can get back to later, or you can go ahead and post. If you want to go through, and our posting process takes about 5 minutes to get this out there into the volunteer universe. All right, are there any questions?
Yeah, there are.
Okay.
So you can stop sharing. Thank you. Good job, Kia.
All right, no problem.
You got people motivated here. And
Okay.
I've got some questions for Race and Izzy. So let's start with Kia. Is Catch a Fire free to us?
Yes, Catch a Fire is free to you. You have 1 year's membership of Catch a Fire, which has been sponsored to you all. So it is.
Can you elaborate on that? 1 year free, sponsored to you all.
So Catch a Fire is free to you, but someone did pay for Catch a Fire. Robert Wood Johnson Foundation went ahead and sponsored your organization so that you're able to get the best use of Catch a Fire. Okay, so it is for 1 year. The exact date I would have to get back to you about, but it is free for you for 1 year. Okay.
So when you say free to you, free to nonprofits in the state of New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay, that's I wanted that clarity. Okay, Grace, this question is for you. How does the Community Preparedness Ambassador Program work? I would like it to be part of with our campground and retreat facilities.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. So the way the program is structured is that FEMA works with a sponsoring organization, and then you in turn will train the community preparedness ambassadors. So it looks like Ron posed that question, and Ron, right. I would love to talk with you more about that. So please reach out to me. I replied to your question in the chat, and I'd be happy to talk with you about integrating that into your campground and retreat facilities. It sounds like a perfect fit.
All right, great, thank you. Izzy, this question is for you. When will the New Jersey grant website be updated with pertinent information for the current grant, FEMA and state grants? Current information doesn't exist as of today. That's from Terry.
Great question. So everything is based on what Rice said earlier regarding the notice of funding opportunity. So we don't have that information until that information is posted, including something else Grace had mentioned about the new information. So once that information is released, we're looking at it to be released from FEMA sometime in February. They release it when they release it. As soon as it is released, that's when we can update the information. In terms of the information that's there current, there's usually not a lot of changes year after year. The major change last year, like I had mentioned, was a UEI number. I would certainly start, if you are going to apply, I would certainly try to get that UEI number as soon as possible. One of the reasons is that last year, that particular website got flooded during the process of the grant. A lot of people didn't get their UEI number in time or quickly as it should have been. Last year, FEMA gave a grace period about the UEI number. This year, they're not going to be doing that. So unless you have that UEI number, you won't be able to actually apply for the grant, meaning the federal NSG grant.
All right, Izzy, and to Race real quick. If there's a nonprofit out there that's interested in the security grants and the other grants, and I know that you don't give them enough lead time, is there anything that they can do now to better prepare for when the grant is released?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go on our website, njhsp.gov, we still have the old investment justification posted. Again, there's usually not a lot of changes. You can start working on that now. I highly encourage you to start working on that right now. The other thing is getting that UEI number as soon as possible. The third thing is you guys can, whoever, my information is up there. The other thing is getting a site assessment conducted. Although the self-assessment is available and a minimum requirement, you get a lot of information related to the site assessment. The other aspect of it is that we have been bombarded with site assessments. So the sooner you reach out, as soon as I can coordinate that, the sooner you'll get your site assessment. So send an email to me, and it doesn't matter wherever you are in the state, we'll be able to get a site assessment for you. So start working on that now, and Grace, you can concur this as well. Last year, FEMA only gave us about 10 days for the grant application to be open, which is not a lot of time to get that grant in. It's almost impossible to do it in that 10-day period. So you have to start working on all of this now, as soon as possible.
Race?
Yeah, I just want to echo that last point. Successful grant applications are prepared well in advance of that notice of funding opportunity being announced. I mentioned during my presentation that the previous fiscal year's notice of funding opportunity will get you to about that 85 to 90% solution. So if you Google FEMA NSGP, you can read last year's notice of funding opportunity, understand what it funds, understand some of the requirements for the grant, and then also read that quick start guide, read that fact sheet. And then once we post the notice of funding opportunity for this upcoming grant cycle, we'll also include a key changes document so you can see what's changed from the previous year's grant, which won't be a lot, but please don't wait. Please please familiarize yourself with that information from the previous fiscal year. That's going to be key to successful applications.
Thanks. Kia, this is from Wanda. Have disclosure agreements been signed between volunteers and organizations?
Yes, that's something that's pretty standard practice, and we encourage you to protect yourself, your organization, and also we encourage volunteers when they're working with something that is,
okay. And this back to you, Kia, and then there's a couple of more questions for Race and Izzy. So I'm assuming, Tony, you want to know, how do we take advantage of Catch a Fire, or how do we take advantage of the security grant? So once you respond to that, then they'll be able to answer it. We have an anonymous question for Kia. How to access Catch a Fire?
Sure, I included in the chat, there's a sign-up link, which is capacity nj.catchafire.org. You can go ahead and sign up your organization, and then you'll be able to get access to Catch a Fire. I forgot to mention There's no limit to the amount of projects that you post. There's no limit to the amount of people that you add from your organization. There's also no limit to the amount of times you post a particular project either too.
Okay, I've got a follow-up question to that question about accessing Catch a Fire.
Sure.
Is there like a YouTube video that's a 1 minute, with that corny music in the background, with it like walks people through how to do X, Y, or Z? Is there something like that that can be shared?
Yes, let me dig it up and I'll be right back.
Okay, very good. Race and Izzy, how does FEMA partner with TV ministry outreach, especially 24-hour streaming and also on community outreaches?
For FEMA, I'm not aware that we've ever partnered with that particular group or medium. However, I'm very interested. So if the person that posed that question wants to reach out to me, I'd be happy to continue that conversation.
Yeah, that question was posted by Benjamin. So Benjamin, follow up with Izzy, follow up with Race, and his information is in the contact. And all right, what's her name? She's gonna put somebody wanted Catch a Fire's contact information. I think it's in the chat. If she's not here, so let me go, keep going. Let me go. Can we summon that presentation? After 1 year is up. Okay, so now let me go back to, okay, here we go. Does FEMA alone fund availability for a county in New Jersey who are in devastation with homelessness, no shelter, grocery stores, or code blue locations? Is this considered an emergency? This was put up there by Anonymous.
Yeah, that's a great question. So FEMA does have a program called the Emergency Food and Shelter Program. And we provide funding to a number of different nonprofit organizations that are providing services to the homeless population. So if you're interested in that, it is a competitive grant program funneled through the United Way. But you can learn more information about that. It's the Emergency Food and Shelter Program.
And this is from Janice, again to you, Race, and to Izzy. Are there free resources available for creating a vulnerability assessment for the nonprofit security grant?
Yes, actually, the resources that Race and I are referring to, everything is free. So regardless if you have a physical site assessment, and again, I really do recommend that. However, for whatever reason you can't and you need it for the grant, there's two actual self-assessments available. One is the FSAT, which is the OHSP version of the self-assessment tool. And then we also have on our website as well is the DHS tool, which is a self-assessment tool. Everything that I'm talking about today, it's on our website. So if you go to njhsp.gov/interfaith or just click on the interfaith tab, everything that I talked about, including the self-assessment tool, grant information, Intel products, everything is on our website. Very easy to access as well and navigate.
Okay, Race, you want to add to that, or you're good?
No, I think Izzy hit it spot on.
Okay, Kia, everybody, she posted the YouTube instructional webinar video in the chat. So if you want to see how it actually operates, you can click that link and we'll make sure that we'll post it on our website as well. Kia, question. For Catch a Fire, how do you protect client confidentiality information? What mechanisms do you have in place to protect ideas communicated to your platform from duplication?
In terms of protected information, like I mentioned before, we recommend NDAs. When working with volunteers, they need to ask permission to use or duplicate anything. So it is up to you and your organization to use your discretion and do what is recommended for you by legal counsel and legal advice to ensure that nothing is duplicated. The biggest ask is our graphic design projects. Of course, if you're working with graphic designers, they're going to ask, can I include this on my portfolio? Some people say yes, some people say no. That is completely up to you. If you do run into any issues, I include it in there. Reach out to help@catchafire.org and we'll be happy to navigate those issues with you.
Okay.
I know it's a concern, but it is honestly a very rare occurrence that any type of violation of trust like that happens.
Thank you, Kia. Zainab, can you please put in the chat the NJOSP website? they couldn't hear it properly. You're on mute. Kia,
Mhm.
can Catch a Fire help us create new nonprofits in New Jersey or subsidiary organizations? We want to restructure similarly to YMCA structured need assistance. That's
Oh,
Ron.
wow, that is great.
Heavy duty questions, girl.
That's heavy duty. As someone, I've worked for the Y, so I understand what you're trying to do. So we work with existing nonprofits, so you need to have your 501 status ready to go. But if you need some advice on how to restructure your organization, we definitely have a few projects that are ready and available and some volunteers that will help you with that. Mainly projects around organizational strategy and then also around kind of structure and policy creation as you're trying to do that. That's a great question.
One more question and then we'll wind it up. This is from Nancy. Does Catch a Fire work on capital projects like engineering consultant expertise?
So no, that's a little bit a larger scale. The way in which we structure our projects is based on nonprofit need, but also our volunteer community. So we like to have thousands and thousands of volunteers available to help. Now, it's not to say that there isn't a couple people on the platform that could do that, but as far as projects are concerned, we don't offer that at this time.
All right. Another question for Catch a Fire.
Sure.
How can someone volunteer to be a provider of a task on Catch a Fire?
Oh, sure. You can sign up on catchafire.org to be a volunteer. You connect your LinkedIn, complete your profile, and state kind of what your skills are and what cause areas you're interested in. And trust me, because I volunteer on the platform, Catch a Fire will start sending you emails about different projects that are available to you in your area or in just anything worldwide.
Great. Zainab, can you please insert Kia's contact information? I know you've done it a number of times in
I'll do it again.
chat because people really want to hear it.
Also, the end date for the New Jersey program is December 31st, 2023. Okay. So once you sign up, you have access until the end of December.
And another question,
sure.
And this is the last question, because we could be here for a long time. If we use Catch a Fire now and then wanted to use them again later after the free year expires, what would the cost to us be?
Great question. So our pricing model is to encourage other people to pay for this. So we encourage you to talk to Robert Wood Johnson or any other foundation partners that we have in your area to pay for this membership for you. So you do not have to worry about this coming out of your operating cost.
Great, thank you. Listen, I want to give a round of applause to Race, Izzy, and Kia, and most importantly to my staff, Zainab and Louisa, for helping put this together. Zainab put in the chat, OFBI is releasing a grant. It's due April 20th. For more information, please click the link on the grant in the chat. If you forget to do that, you can always Google New Jersey Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, and it'll bring you up to our website. We have a series of Q&A webinars that we're going to be hosting. The first one starts February 6th. It's a 1-hour webinar, much like this, and it's a Q&A on Project Atlas. I want to thank everybody for participating. I'm hoping that we answered most of the questions. Kia, Izzy, and Race, thanks for hopping on. Take care, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.